All right, hey everybody. Yesterday I spent a fair amount of time working on downshift. We're getting close to releasing version 2.0, which is taken way too long. Started working on it like a month and a half ago, or even longer. A bunch of people have been contributing to the next branch, and we're getting excited and stuff. So anyway, I thought I'd throw this together and just show you what it's like to build a component, an autocomplete component with downshift. So the first thing I'm going to do is get, import downshift from downshift. And normally I would just say add downshift as a dependency, but we're living on the edge here, and I'm going to add the dependency myself so I can get beta version. Ta-da. There's not like there's quite a few things in the beta version of downshift. So here's the downshift repo. It's PayPal downshift on GitHub, and yeah, cool stuff. But we've got the 2.0.0 pull request coming from the next branch. There's a changelog that I have here, and a bunch of people were thankful for and stuff. Got a couple of reviews and some things that I'm gonna do here in a little bit to clean a few things up. But yeah, so it's coming and we're excited about it. So the next thing that I'm going to do is we're going to return, or actually let's make this just, we'll make this a class app. And React component. I don't know of any state that we're gonna want to have, but we might want some state. So let's get rid of this. Then we'll return div h1 autocomplete rocks, and then we'll have another div here and downshift, and our children function, and this is going to take a downshift. That's state and utilities that downshift provides to our utility function, but I normally just destructure those, so we'll get those when we need them. And we'll just return div with hi. Cool. And oh, that needs to be a capital D. Cool. So we're rendering downshift. It's not really actually doing anything. We can click on stuff and whatever. It's not going to make a difference. So yeah, let's go ahead and we're going to need an input, right? So we'll have an input. We'll need that input. Will need a label to be accessible. What should we label this? We'll do Star Wars. Select a Star Wars character. Okay, and then we need to associate those two. There are some things that we could like we could manually add an ID to the label and then an ID to the input. But downshift will actually do that for us, as well as a couple other things for accessibility purposes. So we're going to get label props and get input props. And then we'll spread get label props across here and get input props across here. And so if we check that out, it's going to apply things. There we go. So it's applying some ARIA things. This is giving us an ID, which is applying the ARIA labeled by to our wrapping div. So yeah, lots of really handy accessibility features given by default and just like out of the box for us, because we're using these prop getters. So better to use the prop getters when they're when you have one for it. Okay, so next we're going to need to have a menu. So let's have a div, or actually for accessibility purposes, before I always used a div, but for accessibility purposes it's actually better to use a UL. Or it could be an yeah, probably just a UL. Could be an OL. I'm not sure what the accessibility implications of that are, but we'll have an LI for an item. Well, here let's have a list of items that we'll store in. Yeah, we'll just store it up here. So we'll have, actually our items are going to be Star Wars characters, right? So we're going to import I can't remember, Star Wars names. And .all. Okay, so we'll import all from Star Wars names. And that one we can just add that as a dependency for us. And we'll say all as Star Wars names. And then we want lots of people, like, so this is an array of strings. We can console log that, pop that up. We get all of those Star Wars character names. Lots of people complain about the downshift docs being like showing how to do strings and stuff, like array of strings as your items. And they wonder, like, wait, does that mean I can't do an array of objects? You certainly can. And that's what we're going to do here. I'm going to say const items equals Star Wars names dot map name to an object that has the name, and we'll say ID is the name dot to lowercase, and the yeah, we'll change name to value. Okay, and that'll be name. Cool. So then we have our items, and so inside of our menu, we're going to take our items dot map item, and then we'll have an li where the key is item dot ID and item dot name. Okay, so that didn't work. Value, that's right. There we go. So we have all of our items, but we only want to show that when our menu is open. And so let's go ahead and add a is open. And so this is going to give us the is open state from downshift. And so we'll say if is open, then we'll map on the items. Otherwise, we'll just render null. Okay, cool. So now we can actually open it up by clicking in here, and with the get input props, it adds event handlers for us. I hit the down arrow key and it pops it open. I hit escape and it pops it closed. Down arrow and I click out, and yeah, or a tab out. I was clicking inside a downshift still, that's why it didn't. So if I click on the label, that's still within downshift, so it doesn't close it. But if I click out of it, then it'll go away. Cool. So, oh, I've got an appointment in a half hour I forgot about. We're good. Well, get menu props. Okay. That'll do a bunch of things for accessibility for us. And then items, we're iterating over these items. If I arrow down and then click on one of them, it doesn't do anything because we haven't registered these as items for downshift. So when you register something as an item, it'll keep track of it with a highlighted index, and when you click on it, it'll select that item. So we could manually add a select item, and we could add on click select item, and that would work. So I click on this, and then we need, oh, here, let's fix that really quick. And I'll come back around here to fix this. So what's happening here, and you'll see an error or a warning in the console, an object was passed to the default implementation of item to string. You probably want your own implementation of item to string, and it'll tell you which one was passed. So let's make that not be a thing by providing our own item to string. And for us, we'll just put that up here, item to string, item. And if the item is a thing, then item.name, otherwise just return an empty string. Or sorry, that's value. I should have left it at name, but it is what it is. Okay, cool. So now, I don't know why. Okay, then I click on this one, and there it is. Cool. Right? Okay, so that's item to string. That's pretty much all the time. Anytime you're going to be doing anything but strings as your items, that's what you want to do. So here we're selecting an item that's an object, and that's why we got that. If I were to do item.name, then I wouldn't have had that, or value, then we wouldn't have that problem. Anyway, there's a bunch of accessibility things here as well, and so and we don't want to wire up this onClick. Also, like yeah, there are a bunch of other event handlers that we could add to each of these items too. So instead of wiring this select item up ourselves, what we can do instead is get item props. Bet you didn't see that one coming. And so here we're going to add get item props. And normally it's with all of these prop getters, you're going to pass an object that has any of the prop overrides that you want, or anything that you want applied to the element. Like if we wanted our own custom onClick handler and we didn't want to override the one that's provided by get item props, we could pass it here and it'll compose those things for us. And so we could pass the key inside of get item props as well. And that will work just as well. So as far as the key is concerned, get item props doesn't and will probably never have a key prop, and so you could probably just put it right there and it'd be fine. But I like to put all my props inside of here so I don't need to worry about it. Okay, cool. So now if I arrow down, we're gonna get busted. What happened? Item in, oh right, sorry. Yeah, that's a very clear error. Just gotta read it. So get item props is I think the only prop getter that requires a prop or an argument, I guess, and that is item. So we're going to provide item so it knows which item to register when I click on that rendered list. So I click on that one and it's all set up and ready to go. Other cool thing about this is now you can't see it because I don't have styles here yet, but I'm arrowing down and then I hit enter and I'll select the one that was highlighted within state. Now we need to be able to visually see that it's highlighted, and so that's why we're going to have highlighted index. And then in here we'll get the item and the index, and we'll add some styles here. Style. So background color. If the index is the highlighted index, then we'll say gray. Otherwise null. Okay, so then we arrow down and it'll highlight the item. Cool, right? And here's a little feature that I think some people don't really like, but I think it's great. You hold down the shift key and arrow down, and it will get you to go faster around, which I think is a good feature, but it was kind of unexpected for some people. I don't know. So hit enter and it'll select that item. Okay, cool. So you might have noticed that I'm not scrolling as I'm going down, and the reason for that is because the whole list is like there's no overflow overflow scroll or height on our UL here, and so that's why it's just rendering the whole thing out. But downshift actually has the capability of automatically scrolling your parent menu, and so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to add styles to this, and we'll have a max height of 300 and overflow Y scroll. Okay, so then we arrow down. Height 300. Boo, I don't know how to do CSS. Okay, let's figure this out really quick. Can you specify the skip distance? The evil soft is wondering. No, you can't. But you can. Downshift is like really extensible, and so there's a state reducer thing that maybe I'll get into. I don't know if we have time, but yeah, so you can intercept state changes, and you could probably make that work. Oh, style, thank you. Okay, let's try this again. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let's make it shorter. Okay, Good, sweet. And so now it'll automatically scroll for us. If I hold down the shift, and then it'll scroll. It'll just keep things visible, which is pretty nifty feature. Figured that's pretty common and useful. That's why it's included by default. Cool, yeah. So I think that's actually pretty much it. So let's add a menu toggle button. So we'll have button and is open, then we'll close, otherwise open, and we'll say get toggler or toggle button. Okay, and get toggle, maybe it's toggler button. What is it called? I can't remember. Get Oh, I should probably include this in breaking changes. It is a breaking change. Get what? Oh, thank you, GitHub. Load everything. Come on. What is get button props? Oh, we're getting props. There we go. And it's not toggler, it is toggle. There we go. Okay, so then I click open and close, open and close. Open, click around in here within the menu. So that's fun. Let's do another button to clear the input. So we need to know whether there's a selected item. Selected item. And if there is a selected item, then we'll render a button that has a little X. Otherwise, null. And then we'll, there is no prop getter for this one. Maybe there should be. I'm not aware of what accessibility concerns this button should have. So if there are some, then we should add that. But there is just like we were able to manually add a quick handler for this and select a specific item, we are also able to clear the item. And that's what this button will do. We'll say on click, clear item. And then we select one and we clear the item. Remove item. Shoot, I can't remember what it's called. Prop getters. Or no, it's let's find it. They're called actions. There we go. No, that's not what we want. That's something else. Clear selection, that's right. A way to clear the selection. You'd clear it all out and then tab away and it'll reset. You can, let's actually override that behavior just for fun to show off the state reducer because I think it's so cool. State reduce. Oh, actually here, before I do that, let me show you another handy thing. So there are 4 items of state in downshift. There's a highlighted index, selected item, is open, and input value. Let's do that first, because right now we're not really doing autocomplete, we're just rendering a thing. So based on the input value, we want to filter these items down. Okay, so I'm going to bring in another handy library called match sorter. And match sorter will be responsible for filtering our items. So here, let's say let's filter items. Let's see. We'll do get items value, and then it will say if there's a value, then we'll do the filtering. Otherwise, we'll just return all the items. Okay, so then we'll do match sorter. And let's see, what's the API for match sorter? I think you pass the items first. No. I think you pass the value first. Okay, let's look up match sorter. Okay. We're gonna be using one of these advanced. Okay, yeah. Sweet, so it's items then the value, and then keys, and that's what we want to do. So items, then the value, and then our options keys is value. Okay, cool. So now with this handy dandy function, we can call this with the input value, that state from downshift, and then we can type Luke Skywalker and filter this out. And match sorter is pretty nifty because if I do ls, it's going to bring up Luke Skywalker because that's the acronym for Luke Skywalker. Got this whole ranking algorithm that I worked on to make it make sense for users. Acronyms, like it would make sense for USA or something like that. So anyway, that's kind of handy. So now we can actually like have this autocomplete experience where we say we'll do I don't know, and then we clear it. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. Okay, so another thing, every single one of these items of state, as I was saying before, these two. So here we'll separate these out. Those are prop getters. This is an action. There are many actions like select item, and they're all documented here. Select item and index, select highlighted index, toggle menu, all this stuff. Okay. Yeah. And then we have our state. There are 4 items of state, and that's actually how it's been. Like we're still on downshift 1.0. We haven't had to change any of the internal state. It's all the internal state is exposed anyway, and so if I did change any of the state, that would be a major breaking change. Yeah, I think it's actually pretty cool that we can have such a powerful component and only have 4 items of state. But yeah, so these 4 items, each one of them can be controlled. So for example, I can say input value equals Luke, and that is what it will set as the input value, and I can't actually change it. It's totally controlled. So now as soon as I do this, I am responsible for controlling that input value. So anyway, I can open this and I can choose Luke Skywalker, but I'm still responsible for input value. So while the selected item, this actual selected value is still Luke, or is that Luke Skywalker item, the input value doesn't change because it's my responsibility to keep that updated, and I've hard coded it. So there, I can do the same with is open, true, and it will always be open. I can't close it because now I'm responsible for opening that. So in that scenario, you can add an on state change. This dot handle state change, and then we could say handle state change. It takes, let's see, yeah, the changes. We could say if changes has own property is open, then we'll store some state ourselves is open, false, and we'll say this dot set state is open to changes dot is open, and then this can be this dot state dot is open. Cool. So now we open it, close it, and everything works exactly as I had before. But now we have the opportunity to make changes to how downshift deals with the is open state. So let's take a look at console log changes, and then I open this, and we're going to see that console log happen. And it changed, that our handle state change got called twice, and the only change in state was is open. The input value didn't change, highlighted index didn't change, none of that stuff changed. And it changed, this is the type of change that took place, autocomplete click button and autocomplete blur button. And so we could say if the changes has own property and it's not, or changes.type is not equal to autocomplete blur button, then I can, here, let's move it down, and this too, then I can open it up and I blur the button. That change actually happened, but it didn't close because I didn't let it close. So that's a lot of control. You can do all kinds of stuff with that. Something that's even better is I don't like hard coding these strings, and so downshift also has, here, let's actually pull console.log downshift state change types. Okay, hold on 1 second. I gotta chat with somebody. Be right back. Okay, so that meeting I was talking about earlier, that was actually a meeting for my son, and my wife is going to take my son over there, and so now I got to take care of the kids. So I got to wrap this up pretty quick. Yeah, so we have these state change types. There are a bunch of types, and let's see, it's blur button is the one that we're interested in. So we can say downshift dot state change types dot blur button. And now we don't have to hard code that string, and it still works. We open it, we blur the button, and it doesn't change. So there are a bunch of these different types you can hook into and make changes and whatever. And I think that's pretty cool. Another thing, though, probably the last thing, before I use something like this, let's do the same thing except using a state reducer. So here we'll do, actually it's a pure function, so we can do const state reducer, and that's going to take all the state and the changes, so kind of the opposite of what handle state change is doing. And then we'll say if the changes dot type is it is equal to blur button, then we'll return all the changes with is open is true. Otherwise we'll just return the changes. We won't do anything. Okay, so that's our state reducer. Say state reducer, and then with the state reducer in place, we actually don't need either one of these. Get rid of those, and we don't need to manage state ourselves, and we get the same effect. Cool, right? So this is why I actually prefer state reducers when I can, because it's a lot easier on the user side of things, and yeah, it enables you to do a lot of stuff where the control props are actually more powerful, because state reducers can't actually change the state until something internally is trying to change the state, whereas control props, I could update that is open state from all that you're really doing, then state reducer is the bomb. So anyway, I hope this was helpful and fun. I had a good time. Yeah. Now, the cool thing about all this is, like, it doesn't look like much, but because you're responsible for rendering, you could change any of this stuff with emotion components or styled components, and make it look all super nice. And it's going to be really, really accessible. Oh, that was one other thing. I'm going to pop this open really quick, and I'm going to enable voiceover. Oh, let's see. Can I move this over? Yeah. I don't know what that is all about. Okay, so it says select a Star Wars character, read the input or the label, and then it says edit text. You're currently on text field inside web content. I've tried their key combinations that they give me, and I don't know how that works. But if I click down, then it's going to tell me how many results are available, and to use the arrow keys to navigate. And as I do that, it's going to update, or it's going to tell me what item is highlighted, and I hit enter, and yeah. And console is selected, and then that one, this one in particular is not actually like accessible thing necessarily, but anyway, so I can do all kinds of stuff. I think it's pretty cool. I can also, if I start typing, then it'll tell me how many results are available, so it keeps me updated on that. which I think is pretty neat. So anyway, that is downshift. I hope that if you ever need to build autocomplete or a dropdown or anything like this, that you use it and you love it. If you are using downshift, then please do check this out and upgrade to the latest version. I'm probably going to release this officially sometime today. I'm guessing, after I fix just a couple little things. So anyway, I hope you're all doing awesome. And oh, here's a quick question: how would you style a render prop with styled components? So what I was talking about is, because this is a render prop API, you're responsible for all the rendering, and so you can make a styled button, for example. That's what I meant by that. And then you can render the styled button. That's the nice thing about being in charge of the rendering, is you don't have to worry about, like, lots of autocompletes that are around on the web will give you a list of class names that you can use to style things, because they're rendering it for you. You have to choose, or they get to choose, and you're pretty limited. But if we wanted the label to come in after the input, or like any of this stuff, we have total control over that. And that's the nice thing about render props. Cool, yeah. So I'll see you all later, and have a happy Wednesday. Peace.